Israel. And so Herod actually purchased food with his own treasury, his own money, for his starving people. So hey, that's some decent characteristics of things that he did. So why would he be so concerned about it, just a little baby? Why? Well, main reason is because he was concerned with power. Power was his big thing. He really was wanted all the power and all the glory for himself. So he was at heart very selfish. And he was only interested in what made him look better and made him more powerful. And so, because history will tell us too, that later on, even after the whole thing here with baby Jesus, Herod actually had several members of his family put to death, even one of his wives. He had many wives, but one of his wives, who he actually very much loved, but he had her put to death because she was wanting to see her family rise up a little bit higher in the power structure of the, and so he wasn't having any of that. So he put a brother-in-law to death, he put a wife to death, I mean, he put two of his sons. Later when they grew up, they battled against their dad. He had them put to death. So he was not a nice person. And so all his feelings or thoughts was, okay, the wise men will come back to me, I'll find out where, and I will send guards to kill this baby, because I'm not having anybody else try to take away my kingship. If they're calling this baby a king, I'm not having any of that, and so that's what he decided he was going to do. Well, the wise men were warned, they did not go back, and whenever Herod realized that too much time had gone by, and that there was no way that they were coming back, that he had been deceived by them, he put out a dictate. And he put out that he figured it out through his sky worshipers, okay, his astrologists. He figured out through them about what age that this child would be at this time. And he put out that every newborn boy to age 2 would be killed. And his guards, that was the order they had, and his guards went out into every town in that whole entire area, and that's exactly what they did. And because he was going to be sure that this baby king was born. And luckily, of course, God came to Joseph in a dream, and he told him to get up right then and there in the middle of the night, take Mary and the baby, and go to Egypt. And that's what they did. And they stayed there until Herod eventually died years later on the throne, and then they were able to go back to their homeland. But God protected Jesus in this case. But Herod never did get it. He never did let his heart expand. He never did understand what he needed to do to have a good heart. He kept that same heart that was probably more than 2 sizes too small. He did not. But our character in our holiday classic, on the other hand, he decided to do something very evil, and he went down and decided to steal Whoville's Christmas, which is what he did. He took it all, took it back up to the top of the mountain. And that's where I'm going to finish that little story. Staring, 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the whoos, he was grinchiously humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. Oh, they're just waking up, I know what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the whoos down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo. That's a noise, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started out low, and then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville, the Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas perhaps means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light. And he brought back the toys and the food for the feast, and he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beef. Okay, so it's amazing how a children's story, a classic from the 60s, okay, can mirror exactly what it's like to have a pure heart and what it's like to not have a pure heart. And so the Grinch realized that, it didn't take packages and boxes and bows and lights and tinsel and Christmas trees and poinsettias and all the things that we think are beautiful here, and they are, okay, but that is not what it takes to have a full heart and a pure heart. And if we just concentrate on that little baby that was born on Christmas morning, and that is what will absolutely make our heart grow 3 sizes. And then what we need to do is to take that message out, though, to others whose hearts are kind of wilted and small